Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity, a show about weirdos. With your hosts, John Fahey, Aaron Peter, and Matt Brousseau.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity. It's a show about weirdos, doggone it. My name is John Boy. It is John Boy time. I am your host, John Fahey, the COVID kid, COVID barely 18. Joining me as ever, prettiest boy under the sun, 3 children stacked on top of each other in a trench coat. Each child, of course, shredded, ripped muscularly. Each one with a huge veiny cock. 2 gay, 1 bi. Disguising themselves as an adult man.
Asking what's your finest liquor.
Skeet Lover's Pizza. Michelangelo's David Duchovny.
Who's a party dude?
Aaron Joseph Pita.
What's up, man?
Still on the program after all these years.
Just hoping not to fall off the wagon.
Is that true?
The shaggin' wagon?
Well, if the wagon is a shaggin', don't come a...
Naggin'?
Yeah, there you go. Nailed it. Nice job.
Man.
Nice job.
To your right, my left, handsome Matt Brousseau, the Frenchman henchman.
Oh, hi. Bonjour.
How you doing?
Good. Quite good. Very good.
French as hell over here.
Sup?
Chilling. I do have to tell the listeners up front, without getting into all of the nitty-gritty, I want to dive right into Aaron's profile here. Very excited about that.
Very excited?
Very excited?
Show him your shirt.
Oh, yes, I will. Can they see it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice.
Joe got me this shirt.
What's it say?
It's a gold shirt, which, like, when people say gold, sometimes it'll be like a cheese-ass yellow. There's some Chuck E. Cheese bullshit. This is an actual gold shirt.
Yeah.
And the black ink on it is a very comfy shirt, I gotta say, too.
It looks comfy.
I'd rather be drinking piss. Mm-hmm. And I went a full 24 hours without knowing where this came from.
And only drink piss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I only drink piss to try to meditate.
It was a piss cleanse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You want to be sure when you're pissing, it's piss.
And then it makes your piss the color of that shirt.
And it kicks it up a notch.
It does.
And
scientifically proven.
Return address was like Savannah, Georgia, and I was like,
I don't know any Savannah.
I don't know. Yeah, I was down there in Georgia.
Savannah, Georgia.
Send them the urine shirt. So then I found out later that our very good friend Joe Latch had sent it to me.
Nice guy.
Directly from the company, which is based out of Savannah, Georgia, and they are called Titty Bats. So if you would like this shirt, that's T-I-D-D as in titty, but titty, you know, the casual way you say titty. Titty. Bats.
Yeah.
But I saw the return address T-Bats, and I was like, who the fuck?
Hey,
Trevor Bats.
I was like, who's T-Bats?
Naughty Tea babes?
Yeah. Naughty T babes. I do want to tell the people we did do an extra. I wanted to do more media after our last one because I felt like I didn't get in everything I wanted to. So we did a whole other media episode. And then we decided to put it out as a Patreon only. So if you do want to hear Profiles in Eccentricity media number 11, it is Patreon only. And, you know, we got
Sean Connery extolling the benefits of slapping women.
Yeah. We got more iced tea. We got
iced tea bats.
We got
God was in there.
God made an appearance.
God made an appearance. We talked about very risque songs and comic book characters. And then we had some great wrestling commentary.
Oh, King!
I don't believe it. I don't know. I had a real blast with it. So if you want to check that out, please check out the Patreon. It's a real fun time. But Aaron, you only lightly introduced me to what you're going to be getting into today. Do you want
to? On purpose. You'll tell from the profile.
That's right. When you hear this. What do you got? I mean, I know you love. I know you guys have heard this, but what do you know about what this makes you think of? Okay.
Okay. What do you know about what this makes you think of? Go for it.
Желание. Живой. Stop. Темнотин.
This is Winter Soldier.
Разве... Печь. Assault the wagon.
Trigger words are uttered.
Right.
The rage is stopped.
Mm-hmm. The bucking.
Soldat,
Soldier,
я готов отвечать.
ready to comply.
Ready to comply. So we're talking about mind control.
That's right.
Enchantment, indoctrination, hypnotism.
Matt?
I thought what it made me think about is that I've only seen Winter Soldier once when I was really drunk many years ago.
All right,
Just made me think about how much I like drinking.
All right, we're going to have to take a break and watch this. We'll be right back in 2 hours and 14 minutes.
Oh no, you're gonna stop it a lot.
So,
Yeah,
we'll be back in
14
7
hours.
Yeah. So,
and 2 minutes.
this, what we just showed there was a scene from the motion picture Captain America the Winter Soldier, where Baron Zemo is activating the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, who was brainwashed by Hydra into becoming an assassin.
And he snaps into his alter ego with a few keyword commands.
That's right.
A la a computer.
A programmed human being, one could say a Manchurian candidate. This, like a lot of the things from the Marvel Universe, has basis in
Real ass
history.
shit.
If we saw the Black Widow motion picture, also dealing with this mind controlled, perfect soldier assassin, human drone almost, right? And
A little bit more of a fantastic way, though.
oh, it's all fantastic
No, but I mean a little bit more,
and fantastical. I know.
a little less grounded in.
Who's to say, right?
Well, insofar as, for instance, Project Paperclip being more grounded in reality and referenced in
Winter
Soldier
sure,
as well.
sure, but they are dealing with the same thing. What if you could wipe or wash a mind, a brain, and put in what you want and get somebody to do what you want?
Scrub the fucking
The
thing.
American Dream.
So this will take us all over the place.
Oh.
A bunch of different people. But it's all going to center around one man. And his name is Sidney Gottlieb, a.k.a. the Black Sorcerer of the CIA,
Holy shit. That's a good name.
That's an official title, huh?
a.k.a. Poisoner-in-Chief,
Wow.
That's an official title.
a.k.a. the most powerful unknown American of the 20th century.
Wow.
Sid Gottlieb, I think, is real name Joseph Scheider,
Who's to say?
but also I think like some
I'm sorry. Repeat.
Joe Scheider,
What about-
Joseph Scheider, real name.
Oh, okay.
But like so I think you could have like two names.
Yeah, well, at home he's Schneider.
Scheider.
Scheider. At home he's Schneider.
No, his real name is Sid Gottlieb. Now, John,
His real name.
real name Joseph Scheider.
Right, yeah, but Gottlieb is Gott and Lieb are God and love.
Yeah,
So God's
That's
love.
kind of fucked up.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was born August 3rd, 1918, in the Bronx
Oh boy.
to Hungarian Jewish immigrants. He was born with a club foot.
Your whole team around.
He developed a stutter,
Ooh.
a speech impediment. And this was at a time, where we aren't real nice about those things.
No.
It was,
Yep.
you got a club foot and you got a stutter.
Sure.
Sorry.
Leg dumb, brain dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His parents basically ran a sweatshop in New York. And they saved a bunch of money and he had a bunch of surgeries to correct his foot, but it was never, he didn't have a Winter Soldier on. He didn't have a Winter Soldier foot. It was just a less lame foot.
Yeah, there are not a lot of good options back then
Not
for,
a lot of good options. No.
surgery.
But he was a bright kid, and he went to City University, New York. Blew through there. Went to Wisconsin.
He's just blowing through these places.
Yeah, he got into music, and despite his clubfoot folk dancing, he's still kind of
Folk
I mean,
dancing.
was it clog dancing?
yes, clogged foot dancing. He got his PhD in biochemistry in 3 years, which normally takes like 6.
Wow.
He met this woman at school, Margaret Moore, who would later become his wife for the rest of his life. He was a really smart dude, had a ton of degrees in his, by early 20s. And he looks for a job at the FDA and then at the National Research Council. He starts researching fungal diseases. And this is where he gets into researching ergot alkaloids.
Yeah.
And around this time, World War II breaks out, and he can't enlist because of his foot.
Right.
So he feels really guilty about that,
Interesting.
Especially seeing the way his people are being treated
Oh, yeah.
and not being able to, right? Takes a job at the University of Maryland, still doing chemical research, stuff like that. And then Alan Dulles becomes head of what would the CIA, basically.
The forerunner.
Yeah, there's the OSS,
Yeah.
all that stuff. The war ends. Alan Dulles starts running the CIA after the OSS is changed into the CIA. Okay, and then also Alan Dulles' brother was Secretary of State.
Do you want to give us some background on Alan Dulles for anybody that's not really aware?
There's an airport named after him, and then he ran the CIA.
Yeah. Yeah, don't fly into the airport if you don't want people to know you're here.
He was, he and his brother were really savvy guys. And he wanted to, I guess what I can say is that the CIA was formed in response to Russia's going to do some shit. We better do it first.
Right. And kind of just the espionage game is about to kick off.
Yes.
Right.
The Cold War had started. By the end, World War II ended. The Cold War was happening.
Yes. And I mean, already you saw the power of it in, unlocking the codes, the spy warfare, the Nazis that parachuted into Britain hoping to make a deal, and, fucking Irish IRA guys talking to the Nazis. Like, I mean, every single thing was like, could be handled, game-changing things could be handled by one or two persons. So, it wasn't just that, like, the Cold War was like where that started.
No,
it was
the writing was on the wall with the war ending, and there was already jockeying for who's going to get the scraps.
Yes, and so the thing was basically it was like a quick word and a big gun or whatever is going to win these wars going forward. So that's why it was nukes and spies.
Yes. Hopefully not the first.
It also seems like something that is self-perpetuating too, because when you get a little bit of information and it works, you're like, we need to do this more. And then when you don't get the information, you go,
we need to keep getting
we need to get more information next time.
Yes, it's its own feedback loop.
Yeah.
Oh, right. And then there's the whole thing of, is it a trap? Is it a AAA? Like, what the fuck is going on?
And then you have Berlin split, and so there's this constant pressure with Russia, and then Russia, and then Cuba.
Right.
Anyway, Aaron.
So he lives in Virginia, Sydney.
Yeah.
And he's living like on a farm in the woods with his wife. The house doesn't have running water. Like he had to like set up a well and build a toilet. He wakes up at dawn to milk his goats.
Nice.
And Alan Dulles, again, head of the CIA, is like, yo, we need to start getting onto this like brainwashing shit because the Russians are doing it.
It's all the rage.
Yeah,
These guys are scrubbed clean.
the Korean War is like Korean War breaks out, right?
They don't have favorite foods. They don't have kinks.
They're gonna love plastic, I tell you.
They're an open book, and it's blank.
The CIA hears about the communists putting Catholic clergy on trial. There's like footage and pictures of the Communist Party putting on a cardinal in Hungary, and he looks like white, like glossed over eyes, and he's confessing to all this stuff, and you know.
Oh, and they think it's
brainwashing,
right? And at the end of the Korean War, there was a group of American soldiers who I'm sorry, I'm not.
Yeah, they're at the end of the Korean War. There was a group of American POWs that signed paperwork, you know, criticizing American policy and all that stuff. And those two incidents in particular, and later that would happen again in Vietnam, and John McCain would also write and sign his name to those things too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, nobody does. Because he's a hero.
Right. I don't have any fingernails.
I'll sign whatever you want.
Suck your cock, all you guys.
If only I knew how to say that.
Where's my watch?
The whole Ho Chi Minh Trail, if that's what it takes.
Hey, this is the Hanoi Hilton. Pretty nice. Anyway,
The amenities.
So seeing this, they start the idea. What's going on? Something vibrating?
Oh no, I think there was a spy.
Oh, good. Facebook. So, the actual term brainwashing was actually a CIA propagandist term. And so they started using that term on their own.
Oh yeah.
And they see these two instances and they think that Russia's making these mindless drones.
Yes. Well, it also dovetails with the propaganda criticism of socialism.
Yes, of course.
Accepting, you know, this never going to be rich lifestyle. You must be brainwashed,
right?
To not aspire to.
And you know, the polar opposite of American individualism is like collective, you know, hive mind stuff, right?
How could these guys ever think of joining the Communist Party, even though they were POWs?
Yeah.
Like,
no hive mind. So the country most famous for mob justice.
it would have to be it'd have to be some devious trick to get them to
Hive mind. We never heard of
as
it.
POWs. Yeah.
None of us.
So Allendale's like, yeah, I want to hire an outside guy for this. And, you know, Sid is not really, at the time, the CIA is made up of like waspy,
Yes.
legacy, East Coast, Ivy League white boys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they hire this fucking Jewish dude who's son of immigrants from the Bronx, who's got a club foot, stutters, and lives in the woods and milks goats to eat yogurt, meditates with candles.
He's actually an outside guy.
Yeah.
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 It's literally out. Yeah.
He's literally an outside
He meditates
guy.
with candles, all this shit.
Fuck, he's meditating with candles at that point?
Uh-huh.
What the fuck is that about?
You know, it's nice.
Meditation. Yeah.
With the cows?
No, goats.
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 Oh, yeah, big step up.
Actually,
Yeah,
it's
you
much
know.
more digestible type of milk.
And they talk back.
Plus, they got the
And you
square
can-
eyes
and
and
you
all
can
that.
stare right at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they love it.
So Alan Dulles hires him
On what basis? Like how? Like
because this is the beginning of a few things. One, Project Bluebird, Project Artichoke. And what they want to get into is enhanced interrogation, what later would be called enhanced interrogation. But Project Artichoke was to determine whether a person could be involuntarily made to perform an act of assassination.
right.
And then possibly be made to forget it ever happened or whatever, right?
And you know, it's Pavlov's dog was already a thing.
Yeah, there was
conditioning
yeah.
was already
It's
slightly some sort of established.
It's the
science.
it's the art of the choke. Is it not? Am I right about the choke?
That's really good. That's really good.
Artichoke. My name's Artichoke.
My friends call me Art.
I'm here to kill you, I'm afraid.
So he starts on Friday the 13th, 1951.
Nice.
And, he's already had this like predilection to the ergot alkaloids.
No, you gotta give some background.
So
there.
ergot is a fungus, and it is the fungus from which LSD is synthesized.
Yes.
LSD 25 really is the full.
And so I mean that was kind of crazy when I found that out, because like it's really just like, oh yeah, everything really still comes from mushrooms basically.
Well, fungus, yeah,
fungus,
a living thing, right? Now it was first discovered in 43 by Albert Hoffmann at Sandoz Labs in Switzerland, and in between 43 and 51, I did that profile on Captain Trips, Johnny Appleseed of LSD. And so it had this like, brief period of like, oh, maybe we've got something here.
Yes.
But in 51, Sid had already taken it, and he was just obsessed. He thought it was going to be the key to unlock the human mind and unlock the universe.
Yeah.
And he eventually would have used it at least 200 times. And on his first trip, he said, I happen to experience an out-of-bodiness, a feeling as though I'm a kind of transparent sausage skin that covers my whole body, and it is shimmering. And I have a sense of well-being. Do you want me to do it in like a stereotypical Bronx Hungarian Jewish voice?
Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, we watched Lucky Number 11 last night. I was just going to do that Kingsley. And I have a sense of well-being and euphoria for the most of the next hour or 2 hours, and then gradually it subsides. So Project Artichoke focused on hypnosis, a little LSD, forced morphine addiction and subsequent withdrawal.
Oh, nice.
Cool. That's a little heavy.
Total isolation.
So
You get a fucking cocktail.
You get the LSD, you get the morphine.
Yeah, mescaline, marijuana. The memo, the scope of the memo was the scope of the project was kind of detailed in a memo that he wrote in 52
in crayon. Give him the mescaline and then kick his ass.
See, the kite is when the LSD's hitting.
You get him hooked on morphine, right? Now he's fiending. Hypnotize him.
Yes.
Yeah, like just throwing everything at the wall,
Can
right?
we get control of an individual to the point where he will do our bidding against his will and even against fundamental laws of nature such as self-preservation?
Jesus Christ.
Did they go through, did they test out?
Well, here's what they did.
Okay.
They said, who's done a lot of this work already?
Mm-hmm. They said people on drugs. People who've done drugs. Scientists.
No, the Nazis and the Japanese.
Oh, okay. So they brought...
So, Operation Paperclip.
Right.
Because I was thinking, because, things like torture, did they try things that weren't drugs before they tried drugs?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Asking politely.
Yes. Will you kill the president and then forget about it?
Then you're gonna blow your own brains out. Cool.
Is that here's a candy bar?
Yeah.
Would you like some morphine?
In terms of this, with this project,
Maybe not with this. Okay. Oh, so then this is specific.
But I mean,
project
listen, torture's
specific.
been around forever.
So who are
And all these, with the stuff with the cardinal and with the prisoners of war, it was just good old fashioned torture that got people to turn.
Right. I mean, I had forgotten about the project specific thing because with those soldiers coming back, they learned that they could coax them back in by getting them to admit, like piecemeal, being like, tell us a small truth. Now that you've told us the small truth, now you can tell us a bigger truth, and now you're comfortable. So that was that form of conditioning, and I'm excited about this project because it's like if you said, well, we know conditioning. What if we just fucking put a colander over someone's head and hit him with a mallet?
That was actually one way to.
Wait, really?
One of the.
That was actually number 16.
So you're on morphine, right? Give him the mallet.
There was one thing of just doing blunt force trauma and.
Oh, God.
So.
Ready to comply? Sort of.
His whole thing was to figure out, can we wipe away a mind and put something else in?
Recreate it, yep.
And so he had two playgrounds, basically, Sid. On US in-house USA stuff, and then overseas.
Oh no.
Yeah.
There would be 149 separate projects under what would become MKUltra. That's the one. That's the name everybody knows.
Yes.
Project Artichoke was the predecessor that led into it.
It peels.
They would this, like I said, LSD, hypnosis, total isolation, psychological harassment, morphine addiction and withdrawal.
God, I hope they get the LSD one.
Cocaine, marijuana, heroin, peyote, mescaline, and LSD was seen to be the most promising drug. But so they went and they had the guys from Operation Paperclip, they had the Nazi doctors, they had the Japanese doctors, and they were like, all right, well, what'd you guys do?
That's like super team.
From like, what was the Japanese one? Was like Unit 731 or whatever? Like,
yeah.
They had like their bad Mengele guys.
The Japanese did, in terms of medical experimentation, the worst shit.
On China.
Yeah. And that's where that's the phrase Manchurian Candidate comes from. There were soldiers that talked about some bad shit happening when they were on a train through Manchuria.
Yeah. So there's a series of films here that's like based on all that stuff. And
there's a book.
It's an exploitation way though. It's like it's called Man Behind the Sun, and then there's Black Sun. There's just a bunch of stuff where it's obvious, leaning into the dark torture stuff of horror, like around the 80s, but it's out of Japan, and it's really showing the Japanese being terrible, which it's not explored in movies like Nazis are. No,
on the stateside,
especially from Japan.
Yeah,
it was whitewashed from textbooks, and the Chinese would get very pissed about that. And I also just want to say, the faraway look in the eyes of the cardinal and these guys out of Korea and stuff like that. Most of the time, torture is
every time.
The one, right? And then in years later, in the shock doctrine, the thing they found to break you really was sensory deprivation. Yeah.
That is Sid Gottlieb's legacy.
Sensory deprivation was a thing even they were doing back then.
They were doing. We'll get to that. It's bad,
dude. It's the thing that stops you feeling human because you're literally not feeling.
Yeah. They would have Nazi doctors come give lectures at Fort Detrick, talking about using mescaline at Dachau. Lecture on sarin gas.
At that point, he was completely tripping tits. It was a real mess.
So
we sewed 4 arms onto him and watched him go Goro on everybody.
It was really cool. We finished him.
He still had a personality, so we shot him immediately. Jesus Christ. I'm so sorry. It's so fucked up, but I mean, the sad thing about all of this is that they're always looking for this fucking
magic thing. And so a lot of this I got from Annie Jacobson's book, Operation Paperclip, and then Kinzer wrote the book Poisoner in Chief about Sid Gottlieb.
I call him Dr. Douse.
So, bro. The Kinzer gives a great explanation for why the powers that be in the United States of this era were kind of fixated on this idea, was because they grew up in the era like the Svengali movies and like the idea of the magic pit, like all this,
the mesmerism.
Yes,
it's like an evolution of the huckster, the town to town huckster.
It was life imitating art.
Yeah.
And in the same way the Nazis would have been going for the Holy Grail.
Exactly.
So their culture was making them look for these relics, from the Knights Templar.
And Teutonic myth and the Aryan race and then the
also
Vril, and then, like all the occult stuff,
and sort of this weird fear of the hive mind being able to come up with it faster, right? Because they're all working together.
Yes. So, man, his favorite. So he had Sid. This guy had no oversight. He had a license to kill. If he needed people, they gave it to him. And
like prisoners.
In the United States, it was mostly prisoners. Black men.
Jesus Christ.
I would say disproportionately, because just disproportionately.
And
black
was he? I'm sorry. But was he the one actually getting the Nazis to come speak about this shit?
Well, they were there. They were hired already.
Yeah.
Okay, but
the Nazis.
But
was by this point, Operation Paperclip had happened.
No, I know, but
they were there.
Was he kind of being like,
"Give me the notes"?
Yeah.
Give me the. Yes, he was asking for them.
He's like, by the way, I'm Jewish.
How do you think about that?
It's totally cool.
One fucked up one. Prison in Lexington, Kentucky. They had segregated 7 black prisoners, and they gave them triple doses of LSD every day for 77 days.
Jesus Christ.
Oh God. So the question of, can you completely wipe away and break a mind? The answer to that is yes.
Yeah, and then but then what? You can't do anything with it.
No. Dude. He was so obsessed with LSD that he in 50
has one trip.
In 50 no, he took 200.
I'm kidding.
He credited it with many insights. Might have even come up with fucking plans on how to use it while he was on it.
Sure.
In 53, he convinced the CIA, who themselves was worried that the Russians were going to buy up the world supply of LSD.
Which is limitless.
At that point, not yet. There's Sandoz Labs had the fucking...
Sure, okay.
They paid $250,000 to buy the entire inventory of LSD from Sandoz Labs in Switzerland. And then they gave it to Eli Lilly to reverse engineer it, which they did by the ton.
Just bricks of it, just leaving
That's of like
everybody working there.
Enough to like dose the world times over.
You're not allowed to breathe in this building.
So he brought the fucking acid to the United States, started spreading it around the hospitals, clinics, prisons, mental health institutions.
Nice.
Setting up bogus foundations to carry out research for what LSD could be used for and how people reacted to it and how it could be used as a tool for mind control. I mean, even so, he set up one of the bogus foundations was the one that paid for, in 1955, R. Gordon Wasson's trip to southern Mexico to find and experience the magic mushroom and provide a pathway for the divine. R. Gordon Wasson was the first Western. He was a banker. Then he, was just like almost adventurer. He went on to write a Life magazine article. Like, it is the article that introduced the West to the magic mushroom. That was read by Timothy Leary. Timothy Leary was the evangelist for LSD.
Yeah.
Tune in, turn off, and drop out.
Turn on, drop out.
Yeah, one of those things.
Tune in, turn on, drop out.
Tim Leary got LSD from Sid Gottlieb.
No shit.
Who else got it?
Well, we talked about that one actor that was a big proponent of it.
Cary Grant.
Cary Grant.
Yeah.
He was supposed to have an article come out about proclaiming how helpful it was with his therapy.
Yeah.
It was nixed by his publicist.
And we talked about, I think...
So here's the thing. Ted Kaczynski, that LSD came from Sid Gottlieb.
No way.
All of the LSD in the United States past 1950 came from Sid Gottlieb.
He is the Douse daddy.
He doused
me.
He doused you.
Doused me with LSD.
He is all those fake foundations, all the places, they all got it from him. And
because he was
Ted Kaczynski. That LSD came from Sid Gottlieb. Whitey Bulger got experimented on in prison.
Fuck.
Bad.
Whoa.
I mean, he experienced like living nightmares.
Oh God.
It fucked him up bad. I think he got like 17 months off his fucking term or whatever. And like,
all right, we've added a bunch of crazy to this guy. You've earned it. Get out of here,
I saw
kid.
blood pouring out of the walls, prisoners turning into skeletons and eating me.
Would have no negative effect on his life or people around him.
He
made me a little paranoid, to say the least.
Well, see you guys later.
Huh?
Better go back to Boston.
I'll be in California for 20 years if you need me.
Ken Kesey,
Yes.
electric Kool-Aid acid test.
Yes.
That LSD came from Sid Gottlieb.
God's love,
He
baby.
got that job in the hospital so he could steal more LSD and give it to his friends.
Yeah.
Then he would go on to write
Tale as old as
One
time.
Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yes.
It's what the irony of the CIA's mind control, MKUltra LSD mind control experiment is that it went on to fuel the largest counterculture revolution ever.
Yes.
It was, and it ended up being the anti-mind control drug.
It was a real test.
They
made. Yeah.
So that's some of the stuff. That's just some. I mean, it also might have been given to Charles Manson when he was in and out of prison. That's the stuff in the United States where there are rules.
Sure. Rules.
Yeah.
Then there's everywhere else, all the first CIA black sites, a chalet in Switzerland,
Sounds nice.
any POWs from North Korea, the Philippines. These people were called expendables.
Oh, great.
Jesus.
Just a phrase that says, we do not give a shit about these people.
Prisoners of war, suspected enemy agents, refugees, people who would not be missed if they disappeared.
Well, not missed by the U.S. government if they disappeared.
Yes, but that's the language in his memo.
Yeah. That's also most people to them.
Yes.
They're like, everybody's expendable.
Yeah.
Do you know what we do? Our job is wholesale slaughter.
It's kind of our thing.
They would do, bro, the stuff they would do. Combining it with electroshock. One of the things they would do, they would give you an overdose of a barbiturate, like a downer, to where you were going into a coma. And as you're in a coma, they hit you with like methamphetamine.
Oh,
an overdose of that. And the twilight zone where you're coming out of a coma and not yet manic, then they would hit you with like electrical shock or sensory deprivation or sensory overload, put you in a coffin and Blair. I mean, this is real fucked up shit.
They had to go through 20 people just to get to that point to figure out, like, oh yeah, what if we did this at this point?
Yes, there were bodies.
Yeah.
Then what he liked, or the benefit of doing the overseas stuff is that it didn't have the disposal problem.
That
you had in the United States.
Jesus fucking Christ, though. You're getting into this shit because
people were tortured and drugged to death.
This Jewish guy who joined the army because of the way
he couldn't join the army.
His people couldn't join the army because the way his people were. He's like, I gotta be patriotic. They look what they're doing to Jews. Oh man, now I can just kind of really experiment with the human body and mind.
Yeah.
Now that we have
who
free
taught me
reign.
a lot was these Nazi scientists.
Yeah, exactly. And these Japanese scientists.
Yeah,
but it's
the abused becoming the abuser,
and also the person that is.
He genuinely thought he was. I mean, this was all in the name to stop communism and tyranny. And
was it, or did he tell? I mean.
By all accounts, this guy
believed
was a sweetheart. This guy was a nice quote unquote guy.
Yeah, it's just there's like this.
But he definitely really,
he's just whistling. He's smoking a cigarette, having his coffee.
he was
and
he was a real believer.
Okay, well now the morphine. What if we have the morphine?
No, yeah, and agreed. You should not be able to live with yourself. There is a thing. Devil's advocate, and I don't even completely believe this, but me trying to empathize is going, okay, these two nukes.
If they figure it out first,
these two nukes,
we're fucked.
These two nukes dropped. The game has changed. We've seen factory extermination of entire peoples
by us.
The next time it'll be faster. And so whoever's going to have the biggest gun, again, the race for the biggest gun, I could see there being something there and then being like, oh, and I had this thing that people don't really know about, and it really, changed my mind and my mental chemistry, and I see it as some kind of a gateway to some kind of an answer. Of course, torturing black men in a Kentucky prison is unfathomable.
Right. Well, how many people do you kill before you go, I don't know if this is, if putting someone near death and then bringing them back from it. I mean, how?
Yeah, because it is the Holy Grail. If we can figure out.
It's a thing that doesn't exist.
Yes, exactly.
No, but we all agree.
No, I know.
But it is just crazy to get into that mindset where you think those things are acceptable. And, you're going on borderline flatliners shit.
Mm-hmm.
I maybe it's naivete, but I kind of feel like at some point you're a scientist. The data is showing that everybody is dying.
Well, it's not. Everybody's not dying.
Right, or their brains are gone. Like,
yeah.
Are any of these people even usable afterwards? No.
There's a lot of collateral damage, but they were still. It was still.
Did they try anything nice? I mean, I'm like, I know that's not the mission. The project is not candy bars and love.
Yeah, that is not the project. No.
Sunshine and lollipops and
rainbows.
How about Sub-Project 68 of the 149? This was at McGill College or University in Canada.
Yeah, in Montreal.
This one, fellow Dr. Cameron was hoping to correct schizophrenia by erasing existing memories and reprogramming the psyche. He was paid through the MKUltra sub stuff, was something known as the Montreal experiments there. And
that's covered in Shock Doctrine.
Yeah, LSD, curare, which is like the zombie drug. Electroconvulsive therapy at 30 to 40 times the normal strength of normal power voltage. Psychic driving experiments. That's what it's not actual drive. This consisted of putting a subject into a drug-induced coma for weeks at a time, up to 3 months in one case, while playing tape loops of noise or simple statements. Typically carried out on patients who had entered the Institute for Minor Problems like anxiety disorder or postnatal depression.
That was the woman they opened up was postnatal depression.
Yeah,
and
her life was
her life was fucked.
Ruined.
When they opened the Shock Doctrine, Naomi Klein is in her house and she goes, there was nowhere to sit.
I'm sure they talked about Sid Gottlieb in that extensively.
Because it was all stacks of paper, and she goes like,
they had a teacher, they had a potty trainer.
They were like, this is her memory. All the paper is her memory. And then when that guy...
they had to re-potty train.
Yes.
Adults.
But then after that, everything...
So depressed after this birth.
Everything else, oh yeah, I know, just this poor
They started
woman.
thinking their interrogators were their parents.
But then by the time it got to the point where he was going down...
Who?
The doctor.
Oh,
there was something in the paper,
Cameron.
and she'd put her life back together enough where she was like seeing a guy and like, she still had the stacks of paper in her place because that's really her memory. And she was just like, I don't know who that is, but she goes, I know it has something to do with what happened to me. And like this is like a doctor that was like experimenting on her for years.
Richard Branson pays people to send him to space, and meanwhile, this lady is recreating an entire life after having her brain just completely destroyed. One of those things is a little more impressive.
The crazy thing too is that like all this shit that you see like always the Bond villain doing is like our government.
Yeah.
Like nobody's doing this like on a private basis. It's always like the most.
And if they are, it's just it's.
Oh, then we buy it.
Yeah.
It was started as a fake.
Yeah.
And it's also it's not just our government. It is whatever the power is.
Government.
At the time.
Yes. No.
Sure. Because it's
the people's government.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hydra became Shield.
Right.
And then it became to another Naomi Klein book. If you've seen Black Widow, no logo.
Yeah.
And then it's just. Well, why would we have a name? Then you could find us.
Right.
Right. It was about isolation, sensory deprivation, overload. One of the things they drilled down on was get them to a state of complete dependence on the interrogator.
Christ.
They get into this like a naked lunch. By William Burroughs. He was such a fucking psychopath, but a lot of the stuff that happened in real life, he kind of talks about in there, just in a fictional, weird, sadistic sense. Let's take a break.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be right back, folks. And we're back. So the thing you threw out there, and I know it's a lot of stuff when you're doing your profile, but you kind of threw out this potpourri of people that got into LSD from him.
By either, indirectly, directly, but
sure.
it all came
the
from
origin.
Him. Yeah.
Yes. But do you think that was because... Well, it would seem that it was because there was no real oversight, like you were saying. But was there any plan to just generally get it out there and see what happens?
Yeah, there was a lot. I mean, this wasn't all forced experimentation. A lot of these programs or these foundations that were set up by the CIA were volunteer.
Yeah.
That the stuff at Harvard. Ted Kaczynski. Mm-hmm. The lyricist for the Grateful Dead, whatever. Fucking forgot his name. Allen Ginsberg, the Stanford stuff.
Even
that LSD,
Kool-Aid acid test.
All those guys. It all came from him, and those were volunteer. I mean, some people liked it.
Yeah,
they took the right dose in the right setting and the right set
with their friends. They drove a bus across the country.
Leary became like the biggest. Leary got his LSD from the CIA. Eventually, if you daisy chain it back enough, he got into the idea of psychedelics because of a CIA-funded expedition into Mexico to find magic mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
He's so into the LSD idea, he's called the most dangerous man in America,
right? Because
by the president.
Because
he got his shit from the government.
Because it's not under their control, right?
Yeah.
But there's a thing too where this is kind of jumping leaps and bounds thematically. But you could argue in a way that if you do just get it out to everybody, does it not make everybody actually kind of more inherently truly individualistic?
Yeah, but that's not what they want.
That's the irony. The irony is that when it got out, it was the anti-mind control drug.
Yeah,
right. And then, but then that also makes you the more what's supposed to be American, right?
Truly individual.
So truly individual. So in a way, it's like,
it is the inoculation against the hive mind.
It's this thing of going like, oh, we can't let that get out. We're not done with it. And you're like, what if we just let it get out and everybody does what they want with it? And then they're like, they question everything. And then therefore they're not going to fall for any fascist or communist stuff.
Right.
It's kind of a thing where you go like,
well, because they want. I mean, it's so ironic.
I know maybe that's kind of a leap.
No, it's not. It's not a leap at all. It's.
I think that's it. But
it's another salient point by John Fahey.
The CIA was guilty of doing what they thought the commies were doing. They all creating drone human beings.
Yes, because they thought that was more valuable than a bunch of people that. Because I think we talked about in the Johnny Appleseed of LSD episode. Alongside Timothy Leary, the weird thing about those guys, and of course you could say that's with old age, but after a lifetime of doing all the tripping and stuff like that, all those guys basically in their older age will be like, it's really the microdose. They're like, that's really what it's about. Is like, yeah, you do the shit like when you want to trip when you're young and all that, but if you like really want to have the most potent benefit of psychedelics, it's really the small dose. You know what I mean?
Wait.
No, go on.
That's just a thing I've seen commonly in those pioneers of psychedelics. And like I'm saying, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt that it could be old age, but it was a common thing I've heard from those guys as they grew older, where they were like, after a lifetime of doing this a lot and taking some heroic doses, I really feel like the micro is kind of the way to go.
Yeah, well, McKenna stopped taking mushrooms after a really heavy trip in like 85, and then just kept talked about it till his death. Alan Watts was like, with psychedelics, once you get the message, hang up the phone.
Right.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, I don't know if like the micro. I can't speak to that because I haven't heard them, the old guys, all saying that.
That was a common thing I found in some of the pioneers. In like later life, they were like, this is a good thing. We kind of got carried away with it, but it has real beneficial stuff, especially in small doses.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have just been a thing they were feeling at that time. As you get older, it's, one of the funny things for me is with Timothy Leary, the electric Kool-Aid acid people, they rode this bus across the country. They end up at
Ken Casey.
No. I'm saying with Timothy Leary, the electric Kool-Aid acid people, Kesey, and they ride this bus across the country. They end up at Leary's house. They show up and Leary's wearing a suit and tie, and he's like, guys, I'm having a meeting right now.
Yeah.
You can't be here and doing this.
No.
Yeah, guys, I'm a Harvard professor.
Right.
And all of these,
I'm a psychologist.
These maniacs around the school bus tripping their balls off, and he's like, guys, get out of here.
Come on. I'm working here. Yeah, funny story about Timothy Leary. Timothy Leary, clinical psychologist, Harvard professor, brilliant mind, independent of the LSD. And then he gets turned on LSD. He gets arrested for distributing LSD, and they give him a psych exam.
Mm-hmm.
And he answers all the questions in such a way so that he gets put like in a cushy psych ward because he wrote the exam.
Yeah. Yeah, it's real nice.
Yeah, a lot of these guys that we've mentioned are all worthy of their own profile, and eventually we will do them. Timothy Leary, Ken Kesey, the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski was a volunteer at the Harvard experiments.
But
a lot of this, most of this lacked informed consent because with Sid, he was like, well, I can't. What about the placebo effect? I got to just start giving it to people without telling them. So that's what he did.
So that's where we are now in this story.
Yeah. They'd just start dosing people at the CIA.
Yeah.
They just start putting it in their coffee. They just started dosing each other secretly.
There was like 2 years where the CIA was like, we need purple bombs. We need.
Yeah.
It was like, if you go to a CIA Christmas party, don't drink the punch.
Right.
There was like an inside joke.
Right.
They
carries a wallop.
So
we just clown faces.
What a catastrophe.
Oh, the spies are wearing
it
red.
is nuts, dude. Could you imagine? I mean, they've written The Men Who Stare at Goats, and that was about. There's also the CIA and their experimentation with psychic phenomenon.
Yeah.
It kind of rubs up against remote viewing stuff, and then they made a movie out of it, and it's funny, right? This story should have been handled by Kubrick and done as the darkest comedy ever.
Yeah.
Instead, he did,
The moon landing.
Yeah.
It's pretty dark out there in space. In space, no one can hear you laugh.
It's actually the biggest grossing movie of all time.
He did, Dr. Strangelove, which was a dark comedy about nuclear Armageddon,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But this is ripe for a dark comedy to be written about it because it's a bunch of fucking CIA suits getting dosed, and then just being out of commission for days.
Oh yeah, and then they show up and they're like, "What the fuck was that about?"
What?
And you go like,
Sorry.
Do you read the memos?
"It's the company,
Yeah,
dude."
we took notes.
Yeah.
And it was like a lot of bad science. I mean, because it was all on this one guy had a license to kill, carte blanche treatment. There was a lot of just shoddy workmanship.
Yeah.
Okay, check me out one time like this.
Okay.
Well, we got to know if maybe the combination of sex and drugs is enough to mind control people. All right.
It is for me.
So, well,
Yes.
all right, bro. So,
The answer is yes. You are correct, sir.
so
I'll do anything you want.
So
Suck my cock.
CIA basically buys a brothel in San Francisco,
Oh, God.
Okay.
Of course they do.
and they recruit all these prostitutes to
Guys?
women. The prostitutes are women
Yeah,
But they
it's
get them-
pretty fluid back then,
to
A lot of pretty fluid back then.
to bring back Johns. Oh, I lost one of the screenshots that I took. Man, they get the prostitutes to bring back Johns,
My what?
and they dose the Johns.
Oh God.
Yes, and
Right.
I'm seeing 3 of them out there.
it's
the one in the middle.
it's run
No.
it's run by this guy George White, and George White.
Fake name.
Here's what he said about the job. Where else could a red-blooded American boy lie, kill, cheat, steal, rape, and pillage with the sanction and blessing of the All-Highest? But the CIA.
Yeah. That's
So
Now I own a chain of Roy Rogers.
He's sitting behind a one-way mirror in a portable toilet, drinking martinis by the pitcher, watching Johns get dosed and have sex with prostitutes.
By the pitcher.
Oh, pitcher of martini.
pants down.
There's not anything in this, right?
I don't care. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, he's dosed too.
And then he would videotape it and then blackmail the
He's
Johns.
sick.
Really?
Just on the side.
What, for
having nothing to do with the
Just so they'd sign off so they could show it on TV.
Dude,
Inside.
the name of this program was called Operation Midnight Climax.
No shit.
You ever heard of it?
No.
You've heard of it.
I mean, I've done it.
Yeah.
What like
I turn into a gremlin if I did Climax.
So is this one of those things where like Sid is the only person who needs to sign off on it, and it doesn't go like to any official channels other than it's just
George
like,
White.
Yeah,
Bring me a pitcher of martinis,
Yeah.
darling.
I have an idea of
What do you need?
and because like you're saying, this isn't real science. This is just
Oh no, it's
stupid.
Fucking, no, it's fucking with alchemy level bullshit.
It's going, hey, we're not going to kill prisoners anymore. What if we just torture people in real life?
This is
Well, I guess it's the same as killing prison, but
same level of irrational reaching stupidity of the Nazis with the relics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is preposterous levels.
Yeah.
it's just a guy who wanted to go to a whorehouse going, how do I go to a whorehouse and get paid for it?
But I don't even think Sid was there.
No, that's what I'm saying. This guy was just like, I have an idea, and then Sid signs off on it. Is that it?
No, it was Sid's idea.
Sid's idea was combine the sex with the.
Yeah, because it was magic.
That's what that song is.
It
about.
was alchemy. It was.
And there are unconfirmed reports of like them hiring psychics and all this shit, but that would probably fall under Project Stargate later with the remote viewing stuff. But
I looked into his mind. He's tripping his tits off.
There's tits in his face. He's tripping him off.
He's seeing 6 of them out there.
149 sub projects under MKUltra at 80 setup institutions. College, 44 universities, 15 private companies, 12 hospitals, 3 prisons.
Yeah.
Is it too early to ask whether it paid off? Because I assume that you have more stories about this.
No, it did not pay off, Matt. Sub-Project 119 was the foundation of all non-lethal weapons programs currently active, and it included one summary. This was from Techniques of Activation of the Human Organism by Remote Electronic Means. So, a lot of drugs, but also like shock therapy.
Wake him up.
Like all the Stranger Things stuff. Anything that you see in any movie that's like,
preposterous.
Clockwork Orange.
Mm-hmm.
They did it. It didn't come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's been done. If think of something fucked up to do to somebody in the name of controlling their mind.
Yeah.
And the CIA did it.
Yeah.
And then they just, when they're done, they just put him back in regular society, and then people would be like, "This guy's crazy.
Yeah.
He's saying they opened his eyes up and just showed him filth for an hour and a half."
It is the thing.
Ted Kaczynski, right? He was when it got into Harvard at 16, and he volunteers for some experiments. But a lot of the times they don't tell you all of it,
Right.
and they fucking barbecued that guy.
Well,
and then he comes and he writes the manifesto about the future, techno state being the downfall of mankind. He probably saw into the future.
But not only that, but also, with Whitey Bulger, it's this thing of you create.
You take a criminal and then you make him a super criminal.
Right.
You made him a Bond villain.
Yeah.
But you are the biggest Bond villain of all by creating all these Bond villains.
That's right.
Whitey Bulger is there's no reason. He should have got away with all this stuff.
I'm playing 8D chess, man.
Yeah. You're also an informant.
But then that's the thing too, where you got to go look at it from this. If you look at it from the viewpoint, for instance, of the Black Revolutionary Movement, and you're looking at your white counterparts in the Weather Underground, and you're like, oh, they're ready to fucking do bombs and all that shit. But then they also break out.
They broke Timothy Leary out of prison.
And then you go well, that guy got it from the CIA, and he's a suit. And then you go why would I trust any of them? They're all therefore tainted by this thing of
Well, then it wasn't out.
No, but
it wasn't out.
Was it on the street? You know what I mean?
No.
Any of those people that were
no, it wasn't out
at universities, for instance, their parents, let's say, would they know oh, there's CIA experiments going on here, that sort of shit?
No. Nobody knew. Not until the Church Commission, which is 75.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
There's the Rockefeller Commission and then the Church Commission. So it wasn't until much later that it even got.
Well, yes, on the same tip, the Weather Underground also did get all the COINTELPRO stuff, and that's why they all got light sentences, is because they had all of this dirt on the FBI and the government spying on MLK, etc., whatever, all that. But I'm just saying, there's this thing.
Your question is, what was your question about the Black Revolution or the Black
Just
Panthers?
there's a reason to view it skeptically.
To view what?
The revolutionary fervor of somebody like Timothy Leary, where you go aren't you just one of them that kind of got a little bit away, but you're not disappearing to a black site. You're not, getting covered. You're still kind of accepted. So and you're kind of like a white liberal hero. So why would I trust? And it leans into staying more conspiratorial towards the whole thing, where you go that guy knew that fucking CIA guy that did all this fucked up experimentation on our people So like, fuck all, like let's just get away from them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a thing there where you want to be like, they all hang out at fucking.
But he's a professor at Harvard. He's it's not like they can put him in a black site.
Sure, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he volunteered. He got the LSD because he asked for it.
Right. It just, on its face, you go like, yeah, all the Ivy League schools.
I mean, the black sites happen overseas. There were only black sites were overseas. Everything in the United States was just like in prisons or schools and hospitals.
Sure, but do you get what I'm saying? Where it could seem like it's kind of a monolith of good cop, bad cop, in a way.
And so, what is your point?
My point is, it just, the whole thing is like, how much did everybody know at one time? Especially when
nobody. And another. This is like, again, going back to social. Nobody can spill the secrets because nobody knows them. It was Alan Dulles, Sid Gottlieb, and Eisenhower.
Right.
And then, the few presidents after that. Like, literally.
Right.
When people would ask, like, whose idea, on whose authority, like, after, even just, okay, let's say Project MKUltra ends, and it's now like 66, 67, okay? It's all the mind control stuff's over. Now he gets a job at the TSS. It's the tactical, it's the poison and gadget division of the CIA.
Yeah.
He's Q from James Bond.
Right.
He personally flew to the Congo with poison to assassinate the leader of the Congo, the prime minister. And they're like, whose orders? He goes, the president. The president. Dude,
Fuck.
It was that chain of command. You are the black sorcerer of the CIA,
Right.
and you go make poisons now.
Right. But what I'm saying is the person that would start, that was, kind of the revolutionary figurehead type, the intellectual, Timothy Leary being the classic example. So if you find out, that guy knows he got it from something CIA adjacent, then you're like,
But he doesn't.
oh, he doesn't know.
No.
No, I mean, Leary is...
Nobody knows they got it from Sid.
Ah. Oh, I thought it was like...
No, they set up 80 shell companies.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Nobody. Then there was like, hey, Sid. Oh, hi, I'm Sid Gottlieb, CIA, Black Alchemy. Here's my card and a tab.
No, but, there would be a thing, too, where you could be like, okay, well, I need some kind of, academic minds looking at this sort of thing. Like, let's work together on it. And then you take it and then you're like, I'm a hippie now. You know what I mean? That was,
Well, that's what happened with
sort of.
a lot of the
Unless you show up at my house with a bus.
I mean, the Richard Alpert who became Ram Dass was that at Harvard, right? But that was mainly with mushrooms.
Yeah.
The thing about the universities is that's the natural filter. Yeah. It's a thing that is at universities. No one goes, oh man, where did the university get it? They just go, well, it's at the university.
Right,
now. And then it's filtered from the university into people. Because the people who are studying it at the university
are supposed to be studying stuff.
And they're not going to be like, I need to find out where this came from, because they just want to work on it.
Right.
It's just there to work on.
And it's shell. I mean, shells upon shells. And what do you go to the Hall of Records and dig back through microfilm to find out what the CIA? I mean,
and Sid Gottlieb's name is
Google trail it.
Sid Gottlieb's name is redacted on every single thing you're going to find anyway. So there's no.
And that's the thing. Yeah, is that I guess with the better journalism of the later era when it comes to the shock doctrine and stuff like that, is that they show that post Iraq War, that these things were still happening with the replaying the Barney song in interrogation rooms.
This is the legacy of Sid Gottlieb. He invented the term enhanced interrogation.
Right. That
is all the takeaway.
Sweet word for torture.
Yeah.
So fucked up.
Yeah, it was, it ended up, you could break the will of a person. There was a protocol that could be enacted to break the will of a human being.
Yeah.
You cannot replace anything with it.
Yeah, that's
You cannot make an assassin. You cannot have a Winter Soldier.
Right. You can only reduce.
You can just
cannot
break their will.
Right. You cannot enlarge. You can only reduce.
Yeah. You can't. There is no vacuum to fill. It's just a broken mess.
That's so interesting.
Please keep going because I have some questions, but
go ahead.
I'll say them. Well, I was wondering, are there any experiments where they didn't break down before they decided to build up instead?
Where's the fun in that?
Well, sure, but I'm trying to think like,
well, that's what just joining the army is. But even then, you get broken down in boot camp.
Right. But so there, you find you can't rebuild the brain after you destroy it. What if instead is there a way to
build on top of?
Yes. Captain America.
And this is me now being in the imagination of a diabolical madman. I would imagine it would be amnesia. If you could do amnesia,
that's what they're trying to do.
Not the destruction of the mind.
No. That was one of the end goals.
Yeah, Colander.
Yeah. What if if we could have somebody do something, assassination or any sort of black op,
same abilities,
and then they forget they even did it.
Right.
Oh, well, then if they get caught, they'll not remember anything. If they get tortured, they'll have a clean conscience. It's
But even before
amnesia was one of the end goals.
Yeah, the born identities.
Yes.
But that would be a thing where you'd be like, you would keep all of the faculties, and they wouldn't be this sniveling, crying baby.
Right.
If you just were like A, B, and C.
The sniveling, crying baby stuff they figured out is what would happen.
Yeah.
But nobody knew.
Right.
It wasn't.
Has there ever been a way to find out if you could create amnesia without reducing the faculties of a person?
Date rape.
Yeah, well, trauma. Trauma in general.
I mean long-term amnesia, where you would be like, I don't know where I come from. I just know that I feel like I'm pretty cool, man. And
well, that woman who went in to the Montreal project, the Montreal experiments. I mean, she forgot everything.
It does seem like trauma is pretty powerful in that sense.
Right.
I mean, there was electroshock therapy, tons of different drugs. Phenobarbital, LSD. I mean, they just fucking tried everything. They kept them in there for months.
Yeah.
And I mean, the true permanent movie retrograde amnesia doesn't really exist.
Right. It's always used as a device, like the memento amnesia, where you're like, I'm fully.
Well, actually, the memento amnesia is the most scientifically accurate amnesia ever put on film.
That's on one end. Meanwhile, Men in Black is on the other end.
Because his long-term memory is broken.
And that's the thing that happens to people today.
But so his short-term memory works in that time period, but he can't form any new ones.
Right.
It actually, I was shown that in my psych class as an example of scientific accuracy
and good movie making.
And that's just good movie making. Yeah. But the person that washes up on shore and doesn't remember anything. I mean, the Jason Bourne thing is.
I was on a pirate ship and they shot me out of the cannon.
It was cool until the end.
Man. Now I'm a castaway. Shit.
Tom Hanks.
So. In 1960, Eisenhower approves a CIA plan to overthrow Fidel Castro.
Mm-hmm.
Gottlieb comes up with some proposals.
Proposition 4.
One was what do we spray his TV studio with LSD? And then we'll put thallium in his shoes.
That's fun.
And all the hair in his beard will fall out. Let's put botulism in his cohiba. They got cohibas, cases of cohibas. They tainted them with botulism.
Jesus.
And what are cohibas?
Cigars.
Oh, okay.
Castro's favorite brand of Cuban cigars.
Tried exploding cigars on him.
One was an exploding conch shell.
Yes.
Because he loved to go diving, and they were going to place bombs in conch shells.
Mm-hmm.
A poison. They were going to have a poisoned wetsuit.
Yes. I believe it was a bacterial.
Yeah.
thing they were going to
Or a
do in the
dry
wetsuit.
suit,
Yeah.
Or so he
Very
becomes,
droll.
It's the TSS is the technical services staff. That's so I bungled the abbreviation earlier, or whatever you want to call it. So now he is Q from James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
The whole like cyanide pill stuff, that suicide device stuff to protect you if you get that was him.
No shit.
Yeah, it existed in World War II to a degree, but he would have to come. They asked him for like custom stuff.
Really?
One was a spy who wouldn't take the job. I think he was a Soviet asset. He's like, I won't do it unless I get, my assurance that I can get out, because I won't get my diplomatic immunity or anything. The guy wore glasses, and so he came up with a pair of glasses that on the part that goes over the ear hooks, it would have a toxin in those, and so if he was being interrogated, he could take it off and chew on them under sweating.
I gotta think, who was that?
That's good.
And he was going out and collecting toxins from shellfish and thousands of shellfish and distilling them down into the most potent. This guy was.
And who was the shellfish working for?
Not the Jews or the Muslims. I'll tell you that.
Why?
It's not kosher.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you said it, neighbor. Or halal.
It's definitely not halal. Dude,
Crabs are on our side, dude.
I know, I got them. They're with me now.
Look at these 8-legged freaks. These guys really mean business.
Oh, you know what?
Pinch them.
Before the TSS stuff, there's a story of Frank Olson. You ever heard of Frank Olson?
I know that name.
Yeah.
What is that?
Frank Olson was a guy working on poisons for Gottlieb, for Sid. And he was out there in Europe watching some of these interrogations happen, or these experiments happen. So drugs, poison, all this shit. He probably watched one too many people die. And he's like, listen, man, I'm having trouble sleeping at night. And I'm really having second thoughts about this. Apparently they intercepted a letter to a family member or a lawyer that said, do you know any good journalists?
Ooh.
No.
And he gets dosed again. Because everyone was getting dosed. It's secretly, just LSD was just potpourri dosing everybody because they needed to know that it wasn't contaminated by preconceived notion, like I was saying earlier. It's bad science disguised as good science because you need informed consent, but that information can taint a trip.
You need a control too.
Right, exactly.
So the idea was whatever is really going on with you is going to come out too.
Or just that whatever happens is because of the drug.
Right.
And it's not because you think you've been dosed.
You should, yes.
Right. So
I actually see the devil. I don't.
So Frank Olson he gets dosed and
government.
is in a bad way. It's a really bad trip. And 9 days later, he fucking jumps out of the 13th story of a hotel.
That's right.
And
but it was through the window.
Yeah, it was through the window.
Yeah, which is what you usually do.
Well, yeah.
When you commit suicide, I jumped straight through the window.
So, yeah, for years they denied this. He was depressed, suicidal, maybe schizophrenic.
Yeah, in the moment he went through all of those emotions.
Happened 9 days later.
Frank didn't know how to unlock windows.
He couldn't talk to his family. It was really bad, and he was really bad for those 9 days.
Yeah, I bet.
And then, dude, years later, the family is petitioning freedom, they're making lawsuits and shit. And the government says, listen, we we dosed Frank. This probably maybe contributed to his suicide. And even then, it's like, it's a fake apology. It's a cover story disguised as an apology.
Yeah.
They get invited to the Oval Office. The president personally apologizes to the Olson family.
What president?
LBJ.
Yeah, we should have made bigger, tougher windows.
LBJ personally apologized. It's never happened before. Never happened since.
Wow.
We dosed he was part of the program, and he took the LSD, that probably exacerbated his existing conditions and made it hard and then he committed suicide. Settlement, money, all that stuff. Son gets the body exhumed years later. Forensic exam. Father, there was blunt force trauma to the back of the head.
Mm-hmm.
He jumped out of the window face first. So there was pre-existing trauma. He was dead before he hit the ground.
Yeah.
Years later, after that, they find a memo by Sid Gottlieb that says one of the good ways to assassinate somebody and to make it seem like nothing happened is to have blunt force trauma to the head and then throw them out of a window.
Oh my God.
Yeah, okay.
Holy shit.
I mean, this guy was an expert in figuring out ways to make assassinations not look like assassinations.
Yeah.
Whether it was untraceable amounts of a toxin or a poison.
Mm-hmm.
Or
the victim
just
had
knock
blunt
him on
force
the
trauma to the head before he hit the fucking pavement.
He was tripping. He was literally tripping.
These fucking
He
hippies,
tripped,
man.
yeah, and fell out the window.
Fell straight out the fucking window. This dummy couldn't even open the fucking thing, man.
Tried to open his mind. He couldn't even open the window.
Shit.
That's one bad trip if I
Yeah.
think so myself.
There it is.
One door closes, the window stays shut, and you get thrown out the fucking thing. You're dumb. CIA came up to the top floor and started throwing informants out the fucking window.
So Dulles is gone. It's now Richard Helms is the director of the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
And
what year are we looking at here?
this is in the 60s.
Mid
60s. He's with the TSS. He still has just free reign, unlimited. He can do whatever he wants.
We're killing these people.
Yeah. You're killing these people so that you can kill these people.
Right.
Would you say that at this point more of his focus is on agents killing themselves and?
It is in poisons, toxins, gadgets.
Yeah.
It's no longer the mind control stuff.
Yeah.
The end of the story was, you can break somebody's mind, but you can't put anything in. That you can't have a Manchurian candidate.
Yeah.
What I'm focusing on now is reducing the pension part of the company.
Yes.
It's a budgetary tax, sir.
Oh wait, I really have to pee. Can we break and come right back? And we're back.
So, actually, it was Gerald Ford that invited the Olson family to the Oval Office.
Oh, okay.
and
So mid 70s.
right? Yeah.
It's my Gerald Ford impression.
Gerald Ford dead today, killed by an MKUltra.
Gerald Ford, pack of wolves.
Pack of wolves. So, it's now in the 70s. Helms is the head of the CIA, and Gottlieb had been operating with like impunity for a long time. But when Nixon came in, he removed Helms, and Helms was like the only barrier
Between the president and Sidney.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so it was only a matter of time till Gottlieb would be gone. Especially with like the war on drugs, Nixon's thing about,
Yeah, and how, Nixon's secret recordings.
And Helms was like the only
Carriage.
person at the CIA that knew what the fuck was going on with Sid. And so like they both knew that like time was short, and they fucking were like,
let's do all this acid.
let's burn all the documents.
Yeah. Which is how they handle it with J. Edgar.
Sidney Gottlieb personally drove out to the record center and destroyed boxes of MKUltra records.
It is also a bad sign of the stuff you were doing.
Yeah, dude. Personally drove out and burnt it. The only way that any of this shit came out was accounting stuff.
Yeah.
In the the 70s, the 80s.
All the money, dude.
And then
it's the one thing that never gets thrown away.
So
the receipts never get thrown away.
Yeah.
The Frank Church and the Select Committee on Intelligence Activities investigating the work of the CIA.
And do you remember how that came about? I think it was anyway.
Well, they were looking into Fred Hampton.
Yeah.
Right. The murder of Fred Hampton, where a bunch of
and so the CIA and the FBI had been sending letters to all these revolutionary figures, and so that was how the church investigated.
Are you saying letters of intimidation?
Yes.
Well, yeah. MLK. They would threaten him. They're like, "We know you're cheating on your wife."
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, the FBI mailed Martin Luther King recordings of him.
Yeah, with a big VCR style tape machine under his bed, which is dude, how do you not know that's under there?
Because you're having sex.
Yeah, but then it snaps. The
end
of tape.
The most embarrassing part is when you get out and you flip it over
and then go back at it.
The that was so that whole church
Frank Church.
Yeah, Frank Church. The church mission was all about work that the intelligence agencies were doing on Americans illegally.
Yes.
Operation Mockingbird, Operation MKUltra, COINTELPRO, all that stuff. Including illegally experimenting on people, violating the Nuremberg.
Yeah, on your own people.
Rules.
Yeah, not even on other. It's not that it's right on other people, but just the absurdity of doing it on your own people.
Yeah, here's the thing that kind of fucks me up is I think maybe more on the West Coast is where they got of Canada is where they got more into the sensory deprivation stuff, and then in Montreal you have all that kind of mind wipe shit, but it's like. In one way, I go to myself, I'm like, oh, the CIA is not doing it on American soil, so there's not going to be fucking some kind of legal ramifications. But you go Jesus Christ, Canada of all places would be the one.
But they did do it on American soil.
Yeah.
No, they did also.
Yeah.
But you would be fuck, man, Canada.
Oh, just up the border.
Canada is the closest thing that we have to a European country on the continent
in North America,
and not really enough of a stink about it.
Well, they have as their churches are being burned down. They have their own issues.
They've got some Indian burial grounds.
Yeah,
that haunt him. That can be, so he retires in 1972, gets a Distinguished Intelligence Medal from President Holland.
Sydney.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
1972.
Yeah.
The corners of it. If you suck the corners, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
So
if things get in a pinch, you can eat it.
So is that right in between?
Well, Nixon
got another, and then resigned.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
73.
Yes.
74.
So burns all the documents.
Mm-hmm.
He had a rough go morally. Reconciling everything later.
Alone.
Yeah, well, with his wife. He said, everything I did at MKUltra was pretty much worthless.
Jesus.
Other than figuring out how to torture somebody.
Fuck.
He would then just go on the, him and his wife went on the road doing, working in hospitals and stuff. Working at a leper hospital. He went back to school, got a doctorate in speech therapy, and worked with kids who had speech impediments.
Fuck.
He
Guy with the stutter. Yeah.
Just did a bunch of medical philanthropic work for the rest of his life.
Right.
Because he couldn't reconcile, all the fucking horrible shit that he was directly responsible for in the name of. I mean, you got a guy drinking martinis, watching Johns fuck hookers on acid through a one-way mirror to fight communism. Like, what? Show
it's
me.
not fighting communism. What is that?
Exactly. Like, what? But, you know, you can tell yourself a little truth and a bigger part. You can condition yourself,
exactly.
right?
Sure, yeah.
So,
when you're doing the test, you're like, when did he come?
Yeah, uh-huh.
When did I come? Yeah.
And then when did you come?
You? Sounds like communism. Is that bad? Is that wrong? Is that abnormal?
No, if everybody's coming, that's great. But
Commies.
But then the thing there too is, the carte blanche treatment you've been given, and you realize like, oh, it was just suffering that came from it. However, all of the data they now have, so you know that they can do nothing with that. And I'm not saying in a way that you should feel good about, in a way you should be like worried about, like, shit.
He did burn a bunch of it, it seems.
A lot of it was burned.
So the data might be gone, but the general acts are accounted for in
the legacy
accounting.
of what worked and what didn't is still there. Just a lot of the stuff implicating him and certain things was burned, but like, there's always copies and copies and copies.
Yes.
Right.
And especially when it comes to things that seemingly work. And that's where, the
blaring Barney music or
sensory deprivation.
they're playing like fucking Guns N' Roses in South America. Like,
oh, yeah.
Or in Iraq.
All
with
that,
God's,
a lot of the stuff was tried out first in South America. Like once the program was over, it was used in the American government's fucking around in South America, like overthrowing Guatemala to get the whole planet, getting the fruit companies in there and shit.
Yeah.
And having a bunch of thugs and then a couple of CIA guys. And,
and they taught, they gave the fucking manuals to, guerrillas.
Right.
And also
not guerrillas.
No, but
guerrillas.
Also in that sense,
commandos.
They took the work of the scientists and then just gave it to people without even the quote unquote like thoughtful planning of this. So all of a sudden you're just giving the end game to people who are like, okay, here's a really easy way to torture without ever thinking I'm doing this for a reason.
That's part
to learn.
Part of the cruelty is to go like, hey, you're a country that doesn't matter to us.
Yes.
But here's a book.
Here's a thing that we think is going to be a badass weapon, so you can do that. And the craziest thing with Chile is that they took the economic model from the U.S. and then the military stuff from
Chicago School goes down there.
The straight up pedophile Nazis.
Yeah.
I mean, holy fucking shit. I mean, that's paperclip on a whole different level.
Yeah. Staples. We got that.
Yes.
It's the modern version of paperclip.
So when people see, the when people start like testifying in the
Church
in the 70s, the Church Commission, they get people who are mad fucked up from these experiments. They're testifying. Some of it's on TV. So people are like, "Hey, John, get off the floor. Wipe the drool off your mouth. Remember when you said you were at that bar and that guy with the club foot came in and put something in your drink and then you forgot how to wipe your own ass? That's what happened to this lady." And so like people come out of the woodwork.
Yeah, there's just people watching this and sitting at home going, "Holy
Lawsuits
shit!"
Dude, Sid Gottlieb was named as the defendant in a lot of this shit, and the CIA intervenes and delays for like 20 years, and then as the walls are closing in, it's the 90s, and like it's getting harder to kind of pass the buck.
Yeah,
and like. There's more and more evidence that like lives were ruined.
Oh yeah. And that dovetails with like, in the Clinton era, the pardoning of Weather Underground people, all that stuff, and reconciling with this thing. But he probably had like a cyanide molar or something.
March 7th, 1989, he dies at his home in Virginia. Wife has him immediately cremated and declines to give a cause of death. Frank Olson's family hears about his death. They toast champagne.
Wow.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
Everyone says that he killed himself.
Yes,
and he knew how to.
Yeah, cyanide handgun.
Yeah, exactly. He knew all the ways to fucking die.
So fucked up.
A million ways to die. And he also, here's the brilliant thing about Alan Dulles. Let's get an outsider.
Oh yes, that's always the
blame it on him. Oh, this is
this Jewish guy's whole thing.
Who are we talking about?
Yeah,
we're talking about Sid Gottlieb.
Right.
We're not talking about Alan Dulles going.
We're not talking about the. I mean, we're still talking about the CIA, but we have a guy we can blame it on.
Yes, and part of being the outsider is the thing of being like, I have to try extra hard. I am the guy with the stutter. I am the guy with the club foot. I shouldn't have this job. And he also part of him killing himself was what you're saying, which is, if I go on there and I get grilled and all this stuff, which he had already done some testifying for immunity behind closed doors, but this other stuff happening in the 90s that was coming down, he needed to get out because he felt that everything would sully the good name of the CIA. Right.
And the work you get, so after he gets out of the CIA, he does all of this Mother Teresa type work.
Yeah, fuck her too.
And what would have been the thing that did
not a good person?
What would have been the thing that did more good than all of that is if he sat down and he said, "This is what I did with the CIA."
And why? And I mean, context is king, right?
He handed out pennies in order to save his conscience when he could have sat down and just given out the rest of the fortune. If that makes sense.
Oh, right. And, and being the outsider, it would have come with a lot more kind of backing, because you go like, listen, I'm not. It's the thing they play with so well with John Turturro's character in Quiz Show. Mm-hmm. Do you remember Quiz Show? Mm-hmm. And John Turturro is like a Jewish guy getting the answers, and he's playing the ball game. Mm-hmm. And then they suddenly decide they want Ray Fiennes to start getting. He's like, this fucking waspy guy, this piece of shit, like. And then he becomes so jealous of it that he brings down the whole thing, including himself. Mm-hmm. But in this case, the outsider status would have been like, the wasp was using you to do all of the dirty work just by yourself. And you should have been like, somehow you guys made me a Nazi scientist.
Yeah, he also...
I mean, personal responsibility, of course, but also think about, you are in the CIA and you're like, I mean, a bullet can be coming from anywhere, especially me as an outsider. How expendable am I?
When did he get in the CIA? Was the CIA when he got into it? I mean, it sounds like...
Talking about Sid Gottlieb?
Yeah, I mean, he
became the CIA.
Right. And one of the reasons that it's such a boogeyman is because of the
what
shit he did.
But in the less formative stages, it even seems gangsterier. Right? When it's not the company yet, you go like, oh shit.
No, it seems... I would say less gangster and more official, like an official, the OSS helped win the war.
Of course.
And then so the OSS becomes the CIA, and you now feel like you are inheriting the legacy of the people that beat the Nazis.
Right.
the boogie. I think, Matt, I buy what you're saying, Matt. Like, it is the boogeyman. It is due in a large part to because of what Sid Gottlieb did. I mean,
for sure.
The online conspiracy world, I mean, eats up MKUltra.
Yeah.
You know, that is the word.
Right. Devil's advocate.
Okay.
What do you mean? Oh.
Good
You
movie.
you don't have to.
No.
But no,
It's a genuine thought.
Do it.
Is it not somehow even less creepy that the experiments are all happening on the fellow employees that we would usually see as the Mr. Smith fucking minions?
That's the dark comedy.
That should be dropped in.
Well, I mean the
accounting firm's punch bowl.
That's the only part that seems okay. Like, I mean, how many prisoners and people overseas
family
did they kill? Yeah, even that. I see what you're saying, but at what point is this okay?
None. Well,
and
you can understand. Well, you can try to.
Yes.
The paranoia that everybody had. I mean, this Cold War was happening on every front. There's the mind control of propaganda, which is the better form of mind control.
Yes, it is.
It's the best form.
It's my idea
Because
I didn't take a pill or anything. It was my idea.
The Russians were so good at it that we started our own brainwashing program when they never had one.
Right.
We started our remote viewing program when they never had one.
Well, and we nuked the Japanese because we were worried that they would take over Japan.
That's right. And we nuked ourselves hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of times.
Because we were worried.
Because we were worried that the Russians would nuke us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, propaganda, the best form of mind control. That's going on. Then you've got the actual mind control, the war for controlling minds, which, you know, of course they were trying to, but we were really going for broke. I mean, we got all the good Nazi doctors and Japanese doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, there's a thing there too where you go like,
and then there's the arms race is happening at the same time.
Of course, yes. But you already know, like, for instance, from like Stalingrad, that the retreating troops would be machine gunned by their own people, being like, do not retreat.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a ruthlessness there that's just like, we don't even need to do propaganda. Just like, if you're not doing the right thing, we have no trouble.
Well, that's how strong their propaganda is.
Right. But in America, they go like, oh, well, that's, you know, we're supposed to be about the individual and John Wayne and all this bullshit. So, like, we need to, like, actually manipulate the minds more than just be like, you know what we need you to do, right?
Well, that's the.
It's battling with kind of like.
Yeah. Are you saying, because I think this is a legitimate question, was the mind control really to be used on the American population, as opposed to just for assassins? Because, I mean, you can be an American general, and you can watch the Russian troops at Stalingrad.
Mm-hmm.
shooting their own retreating soldiers, or picking up the weapons of of their own dead soldiers because they didn't have enough.
Expendables.
And being like, they must be under some kind of mind control. If only I had an army like this.
Exactly right.
No, I think it was a thing more of like,
Americans will never do this. We gotta fucking start dosing them.
well, we can't buy the other brand. As much as we want to as military people,
Right.
we'd love it if there was some hive mind shit. But instead we have this rugged individualism bullshit. So we have to get around it by like bringing up some like fucking like mind control nonsense.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's I'm saying like they're definitely wishing. I mean, the military is always wishing they had the most obedient army of all time, of course. But, you know, then also if you just ape the enemy, wouldn't it sap morale to such a degree that you'd be like, why the fuck are we even doing this? You know what I mean?
Well, I think part of that is because, I think today, look at the American military in the hearings with the generals and Matt Gaetz about critical race theory. And they're like, the American military recognizes they need people from all sorts of America to be as good of a military as they want to be. And so the American military, in some ways, even though there is a white supremacy problem among the soldiers, they also recognize that they need to stamp it out in order to have a military that will follow the rules.
Yes.
Or that works or is any good.
But also, what this really emphasizes to me is how the people, away from the military, the people in these, America has always been a country of expendable people. And whether we grow our economy through decades and centuries of slavery, or whether we grow our economy through, killing the people who were already here and expanding, whether we grow our economy through rugged capitalism and denying the people who are working for us living wages and rights. America is a country of expendable people. And so what is all of these tests but just another form of expendable people?
Yeah. Let's just expand on what you're saying, that the world is that way.
But it feels.
It's our country, so we're saying that everybody does this.
No. I am saying that power does that.
Yes.
No, but I'm also saying it also.
We're just the best.
It also feels uniquely American that we would torture our own people, because that's always kind of been a part of this.
Yeah, but Stalin did it. Stalin killed 20 million of his own people.
But that's Stalin.
And they also would sell it to you as a favor.
I think there's something about this that there's a lot of tracks with the way we treat prisoners in this country that other countries do not treat prisoners, right? We have this level of expendable people in this country.
We have too many prisoners, but I would not want to be in a fucking jail in Africa or the Middle East.
Absolutely, but with the power we have, we still constantly...
Yeah, we don't have the jails that Norway has.
And with the power we have, we
should be doing better.
But we are constantly in this ongoing phase of expending our own people, and for what? For tests that fail.
But I don't think that's uniquely American. I just think we're the best at it. And
sure,
and that makes us the worst,
right? It's the efficiency.
The British Empire did the same shit.
Sure, but they did it to. They did it to other countries. We're doing it to ourselves.
Yeah, but so did Russia. Did it to their own people in World War II, and thereafter.
But we did that. It was. I feel like that's kind of an excuse. We use Russia as a kind of an excuse to do it to ourselves.
Okay, Pol Pot.
Again, but these
are not excuses. These are examples. It's not uniquely American.
No, but I think there's just something. There's a devaluation of Americans themselves when we have this country that is supposed to be so grand and so the greatest country on earth. We like to tell ourselves, and yet we are so blind to the things we are doing.
But the reason,
and I know it's not unique to us.
No,
I know. I'm saying,
but we're not blind. That's why it seems like a greater crime. Because we actually have the ability to ask more questions. Nobody in Cambodia is allowed to ask questions. Yeah.
They're not allowed to have glasses.
That's why it seems so bad.
Right.
But I mean, like, I'm not saying it's acceptable.
So good. It's so good that you can see how bad it is.
Well, yes. But I'm saying, I mean, it just seems in that sense.
Yeah. Why? Nobody in a fucking jail in... Name a shitty place. I don't want to besmirch any good fine country, but like
Spain,
dude. Actually, have you ever seen The Spanish Prisoner?
What, during the Inquisition or?
No. They didn't have movies back then.
When they had those tiny little cells that you couldn't fit in. That was new. No. I mean, that was new shit you guys came up with. That was cool. You guys are kind of the original Nazis, in my opinion.
Wow.
You guys are Unit 731 times 69, dude. You guys are fucked up. You did some nasty, and I respect you for it.
But I do understand how it can be a power
I would
thing.
rather. I mean, there are very few countries you'd rather be in prison in than the United States.
Agreed. Yes. You know,
They're all they're.
you don't want to be in a
there's-
prison in South America where the prisoners run the prison like gangsters, and if they decide they don't like you, you're dead, and the guards have nothing to do with it.
Right. But I mean, we're talking. You know, for me, it's a,
And it's shitty that way because the Americans made it that way.
100%.
It's a form of
100%.
relativity. You know.
Of course.
You know,
but I think what John said, it nails the point. It's so good that we know how bad it is.
Yes, and that is rare.
Sure, but that's also kind of what I mean in the sense that we theoretically should know better, and yet we constantly are doing
Right.
the same thing.
So
I mean, England got rid of slavery before we did.
one thing a friend
That's because they found a new labor force in India.
Right.
and here where they could buy shit from. So they were like, "Oh yeah,
we don't need to.
Oh,
we don't have the land or the people.
Those
to do it.
rebels in America are so primitive. Look at them with their slave labor."
More sugar for your tea, sir?
Do you know that the Queen cried when she read Uncle Tom's Cabin? By the way, we're buying cotton by the million load.
Yeah.
Like it was a total fraud. But what I'm saying is, anything that can. This is.
He's getting to it.
I'm stealing this from my boss. But anything that can be measured can be improved. And that is why, if you can see that something sucks, it doesn't have to stay that way.
Yeah,
If
one simple trick and you can gain 4 inches in 1 week.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Yeah, it's just apple cider vinegar, scrape your butt, cock in a toilet paper tube wrapped with gauze.
Swallowing some loads, and then you're good.
Do they have to be mine or can they be other
but I'm
people's?
serious. Being able to see why it sucks is a measurement, and anything that can be measured can be improved. If you're not even allowed to say, hey, that's not the coolest thing of all time, you're not going to get there.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But
I cannot believe. I mean, it's so predictable and very human that we are doing the same shit. But it is like, you know, we have the luxury of being able to look back and be like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Yeah.
But these, you know, I also look. I look and I go, the world that these people grew up in was so. I mean, they were having air raids. Air raids started getting duck and cover drills in high school. Like,
Yeah.
these people were traumatized. World War II is the most incredible event in world history.
Yeah.
And the world was at war, and then it ended with 2 demons in a bottle being exploded over Japan to stop a mass sacrifice that was happening of a nomadic people, and like all for the glory of a myth. Like, it's the most.
Yeah.
It's a blood ritual that ended in a blood ritual with magic, and then kept going by the people that won.
Mm-hmm. Using the excuse that
you don't want this to happen again.
Someone else is going to do it now.
Yeah, and then just holding that over your heads, like the sword of Damocles, like it's going to come down. It's going to come down. So you can imagine selling that bill of goods to the American people like they did with 9/11, and just saying like, you know, we got to make sacrifices so this never again.
How about this?
And so I can empathize with that mindset. It's disgusting, but you can understand where it came from.
You can easily understand.
I can see the travel there.
You can easily understand it when you think about everything we were going through when we thought we might have 4 more years of Trump. And then you go like, imagine it's 5 years long and you're like, man, I hope the Nazis don't win. Because if they do, we are fucked on levels like we have never seen before. Like, it is, we can't even imagine. Like, thinking about, it goes on for 5 years and we don't even know that we're possibly, like it's terrifying. Like, it's every day you're going to school and doing your job and you're making the munitions for like whatever they want you to do. Mm-hmm. But every day you live with the doubt of.
You're talking about
during the war.
Talking about during the war.
During the war.
It's 5 years of. I mean, and
we might not make it.
And that's in America where you didn't have to have, lights out.
No, exactly.
You didn't have to have curfew.
No, it's not. It's not London. Yeah,
you had to save your bacon fat, and you had to have a victory garden, and your wife had to go to the factory, and you had to hire a black guy. That was about as bad as it got in the States for World War II. In England, it's like turn on your fucking lights.
No, yeah, totally. No, I'm
so
not.
They can't see us from the air.
Right? Yeah. I mean,
but also that collective trauma around the world. Never mind what happened in Africa.
No. I mean, I agree with all of that. My point was the idea of the U.S. government experimenting on their own citizens seems like a very normal thing after the history of the United States and what they've done to their own citizens.
Oh yeah. And also,
or just whoever's on the land.
Yeah. Right. It just seemed like something that's not out of character for the United States to purposefully destroy their own people who live here.
Oh, no. Nor is it that they were initially, like the British, kind of friendly with the Nazis and being like, hey, these guys got the right idea. I mean, most of what really made Britain and America react to them in a rebellious way was we don't want to be second fiddle. It's not as if there was, this great, emancipate the world thing. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like, I don't think they were good guys.
Oh, no. I'm not saying I'm
Nazis?
No, I mean, America and Britain.
No, I'm not saying any of that. I just thought it was very interesting. The technological advances, the historical advances of the United States, and yet still, even with this super science, now they have LSD. They still are going, what if we just fucked up our own citizens with it? As opposed to like point, some other thing,
I think the comment I was making earlier about, well, Olson did it. I think when you have a big enough population over a big enough square mileage.
Yes, which is gigantic.
Then you just dissociate. Like
the nukes that dropped.
I mean,
the nukes that dropped.
How many Uyghurs does China have in concentration camps right now?
Right.
If you have enough, I think if there's enough people, you stop having there's a less of a solidarity, and so you feel less like a common people, a nation.
Certainly.
And so you're like, fuck it.
Certainly, I absolutely agree with that. But also, I just thought there's a history of experimenting on ourselves as a people, and so what is LSD at this point? Like why would the CIA say no?
How far back does the experimentation go? You mean like exploitation? Like, I feel like this is the first I feel like this is where experimenting on our own people started.
It's called the American experiment. I mean, I'm serious though. It's a whole thing where it's like, the new frontier. I mean,
right.
It's a thing where you go like, well, what if there was a melting pot? And you go like, well, what if we weren't into kings? And then you go like, well, what if we gave people acid and made them our slaves?
right. Yeah.
I mean, it's a real direct line. The American experiment.
Yeah. I mean, not all of the tests were the first test that was ever done on a people.
What if they sucked our cocks? All of us guys.
Yeah. The American experiment. The American experiment started with slaves and stupid Europeans, and then it eventually got to acid.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as an idea goes, I mean, getting people to do shit for you is pretty good.
Yeah,
right. But it is in the same way this Holy Grail level thing where it's like, you're not ready for this power. If you found it,
you wouldn't know what to do with it.
You
just use it to make people suck your cock.
Yeah, but also
melt your face.
But also, wouldn't you want to hide it? Kind of. You'd be like, oh shit, this is like. I mean, that would be worse than the atom bomb, right? If you,
I mean, could you? That I was thinking today as I was doing this research.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if they found it? But here, that's exactly what they were telling themselves about
the
Russians.
enemy. Yeah.
Could you imagine if they found it?
Could you imagine if Russia found a way to like trip Cleveland? All of a sudden, for an entire week, Cleveland is just tripping balls,
and
it's just Russia.
They tainted the entire water supply of a town in France with LSD.
Just imagine, like all of a sudden,
Forgot to mention
Cleveland's
that.
like, no, the
They
lakes.
considered doing it in U.S. cities.
Yeah, Cleveland's like, the lake's not even on fire. I love it.
yeah, they were like, I'm not going to drink anything out of the river in Cleveland.
Flint, Michigan is like, well, at least it's drinkable.
Are you talking about the river Ebola? Yeah, we don't swim in that anymore.
Flint, Michigan wishes there was LSD in their water.
Yeah, that'd be way better than was actually there.
I'd only see the fire.
The fire rises.
It's not there.
That's why they call it Flint.
You need us.
They're all Flint stoned.
We got these get these people Flint stoned.
Yabba dabba do, am I right, my friend?
Yabba dabba do it, kid.
That was real fun, Aaron.
Yeah, man. It's I mean, we can talk about the morality quandary that is this, which is not. It is black and white, but it isn't. It's Technicolor.
Yeah, that's what.
Because you can understand the paranoia because we're having the same, the what if about us. Could you? I mean, I'm still. I know we have to wrap up, but like. Could you imagine if they found out the secret to drug-induced mind control?
Yes.
And the world would have ended. It would have ice-nined out. It would have daisy-chained into. It would have never stopped.
World War Z.
Yeah.
It would have been World War Z.
Yeah, and that was the zombie movie.
Yes, the goal is get the expendables on our side, who we expend first to create the zombie. And then get them to fight their zombies and see who has more. It's pathetic and stupid and humiliating.
So then we just made drones.
Right.
Yeah, the drones are the.
If you want to find out how this story ends,
it's drones.
It's drones, and wait 20 years.
Yeah, you're like, will this man on acid destroy an entire wedding in Afghanistan? No, you just need some 20-year-old in Westchester, Pennsylvania, flying a drone in Afghanistan.
Deny him sex his whole life.
Yeah, and then
keep
he'll
him on the internet.
Imagine explaining to a T-800 that his predecessor was some guy just blown out on acid with a boner.
Man, my sex doll.
That doesn't compute.
My sex doll is not going to like that.
Come in me if you want to live. Yeah, maybe we can...
we'll expand on a Patreon.
We'll expand on a Patreon. Maybe we'll show some of those videos of the soldiers on LSD.
We can play some of those Ted Kaczynski
interview tapes.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
I mean, because getting just to dovetail it nicely and put a nice bow on it with the drone stuff.
They love bows.
You can buy the Unabomber's manifesto on Amazon, which in and of itself, ironic.
Yeah.
I hope it pays for like a bag of Fritos for him or something.
Incredibly ironic.
Yeah.
Because he gets a lot of money from it.
No, because it's on a technological master, or a miracle, rather.
And even today, he just gets enough internet to know to hate it.
He wrote this entire thing about, I think it's called Technological Slavery, is his manifesto.
Right. And it's going to push Bezos into space.
And it's on Amazon.
Bezos is like...
Amazon workers are shitting in condoms.
Yeah. To save him for lunch. And Bezos is going, do you know Ted Kaczynski got me into space with his dumbass manifesto?
100,000 copies this month.
Guy's a fucking Luddite.
Yeah, he's
practically a Luddite.
The countdown for Bezos is 10 Ted Kaczynski books sold. It's 10, 9, 8.
It's more of a pamphlet.
Aaron, this was great. Thank you.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah, so many cameos, so many other profiles that are...
Oh, dude, so many fucking just timelines to shoot off.
Yeah, I had to prune a lot of branches.
Dude.
So I hope it was somewhat cohesive.
No, yeah, it is.
I mean, if anything, we fucked it up. It was cohesive.
No, but here's the thing, is that what is... you just think there's a plan. And then you go, like, oh no, there's just a guy that has like a franchise of the CIA, and they're like, see what you find.
It's McDonald's.
And then he's like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. And then they're like, yeah, try it out, no problem. We got expendables. And so it's hard to register in your mind.
They didn't want to know.
Yes.
You don't want to know what Mr. Falcone has in those crates.
Yeah, he's got a club foot.
It's best if we don't know.
Yeah. Plus, he's got a stutter, so it takes forever to debrief him.
Oh, man. He's going to tell you the same story 3 or 4 times.
He got over it.
He did, huh? Yeah. Was it from acid?
Oh, thank
Aaron?
God. Thank God he got over it.
Who's to say? Aaron, that was excellent.
Hope you guys liked it. I hope
did.
it made
really
sense.
Yeah.
There's just so much. I mean,
if you have any questions, just go to your congressman. And you can also contact the CIA at
CIA.com.
1-800-CIA-6969.
Yeah. I'm going to say goodnight. My name is John Fahey.
My name is Aaron Pita, and I'm having a great time.
Mapperso.
Good night, everybody. We love you very much.
Good day.
Starbane's Audio.